Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. Today I have a special guest. We actually met in New Jersey a couple months ago, and it was at the Scary Fest Book Festival. And unfortunately, I did a video of it, but the audio didn't turn out. So, but listen, great guy, nice guy. We talked for a minute. He's a fan of the show, and he has two books out right now. One is called STARRY Nightmares, and the second one is called Time the Avenger. I have with us Jason Marenko. Jason, welcome to the Horror Realm. Finally.
I am in the realm, Travis, and thank you so much for having me. Now, me knowing where you're from, there's a special occasion candle lit right now. Now, normally this is if I'm in a rut with writing or anything, but you being from the southeast there, Baltimore, I got my Edgar Allan Poe saint candle right here. This is, a lot of people, they have saints they pray to find things. When I get jammed up writing, Uncle Edgar's who I go to from.
Yes. And you have to get that to Baltimore because, it is Edgar Allan Poe Fest here. It's his grave is here, and you can take some of the ghost tours to see some of his final places, his favorite bar. Definitely got to get out to Baltimore.
Yes, and just so much happened for him in his time in Baltimore, and the grave is there. He ended it there,
right there.
Yes, but thank you so very much for having me on Horror Realm. It was wonderful to meet you and your nephew. My girlfriend Michelle thought your nephew was a blast, and we met paranormal investigators there, other authors from all other realms. And, we just talking to you a little bit and getting to know what you like and everything. We're on par with the same stuff, where we talked about our love of the slashers and, how those kind of molded our interest.
Yes. So listen, Jason, I'm going to do something completely different for the interview. Normally I save this for the end, but listen, I'm going to get your opinion on some horror. So I'm going to ask you the three random horror questions from the judge. All right, you ready, brother? All right, you got to pick a horror director that's living, Jason. That's living. That's the key.
Okay.
To do an adaptation of one of your books into a movie. Who's it going to be?
There is my first film in the theater is E.T.
Okay,
and that made a lifelong impression upon me. One of the greatest days of my life to this day. And then I saw Jaws. Okay. And if I wanted to scare somebody, everybody thinks Steven Spielberg makes, these dramas or anything like that. Steven Spielberg can scare the living hell out of you if he wants to. When that head falls out of the bottom of the ship in Jaws, he talks about screening that test audience and going, I know I can get him again if it rolls out slower and he sees it first. Yeah, and I really wish in a future film he would go back to scaring us. So, this is my comparison. My favorite director is Martin Scorsese. Whom I think would be the best director is Steven Spielberg. It's just like in hip hop. My favorite rapper is Tupac, but I recognize Rakim as the greatest rapper. So, it's that creative thing, but you recognize who you think your best is. And I would love to go for the best. So Steven Spielberg, Time the Avenger.
That's the first time a author has said Steven Spielberg. So that's a good one. Of course, a lot of people have been saying, Ty West, which I am a huge X-series fan. Ty West is great. You have Eli Roth who's doing good things right now.
Love Roth. Crazy about Eli Roth. Now, Ty West, I did see, I suppose X is the first one, or is...
Yes.
Okay. Loved it. The whole time worried about those alligators in there. And I knew they were coming into play.
Yes.
Got me good on them. Yes. So I can see why somebody current, absolutely. And I want to finish out the rest of that trilogy, because the first one was wonderful. And so Roth, crazy about Eli Roth.
Eli Roth is amazing.
Green Green
I,
Inferno.
oh, I saw that in the fucking theaters, and I remember it was a first date too. Listen, Jason, I tricked a woman who I knew wasn't into horror into that. By the way, I didn't get a second date, but I tricked her into that, and it fucking traumatized. I think that movie traumatized her. That movie, it was pretty intense.
You know, I've watched your other shows and everything, and I hear you talk and you talk real, and I know I don't need to be censored or anything. So when I tell you,
100%.
yeah, my friend calls me up. He's like, "Bro, the fuck? They turned the fat dude into a fucking smoker.
I
They
know.
used him as a meat smoker. His ribcage."
But I'm telling you, I'm trying to think of his name. Listen, I'm usually good with names in the movie, but his character, I want to say his name was it Eugene? It was something like that, Ethan or something like that. He was the listen. I fucking hated every single one of the group of characters in that movie,
You
but he
needed
was
to,
the
yeah.
likable, lovable character, and he was also the only black guy, and he died in the most gruesome fucking way in that whole entire movie. I mean, it just went on. I mean, we talk about Terrifier, like his kills going for long. No, that kill went on for way too long, and it was gruesome.
You know, we went into it knowing what we were getting though, and you knew. I mean, if you'd seen Hostel before, you
Love
knew
Hostel.
he was. Yeah, yeah, and you know
Hostel.
what? I always say, you know, some of our best horror lies in a place of possibility and realism. And when we see the things in the news about, you know, unfortunate situations like trafficking, is it that far from the imagination to imagine that it's quite possible that people would want to hunt human beings in the most dangerous game? You know, that story's been around forever.
But Jason, that movie Hostel originated with me when I saw it so much because that could have literally any of those guys in that movie could have literally been me because I was backpacking and traveling the country. And listen, if some hot pussy would have said, "Hey, let's follow me back to the right, have a drink," I would have definitely been tied up and killed. And that's why that movie fucking maybe someone who doesn't travel the world wouldn't. It would be like, "Oh, this is stupid." But if you ever traveled the world, especially as a single person, and you're out and about,
Mm.
hot guys, fucking summer or hot girl summer, this and that, it hits you at home, and you're like, oh shit, that could have been me. I went to Jamaica, and I'm a chick, and I went to Jamaica, and I hooked up with a couple of Jamaican dudes. I fallen back to their place because they were so fucking hot. That could have happened to anybody, and that's what scares me about that fucking movie. That's it. It just
So,
hit it home.
so let's circle back to the Green Inferno. Okay. And I can't remember the specifics, but I know it's real, reported heavily in the news. Now, there is a guy who is a missionary, you know, and we have these indigenous folks who live in this island. They do not want, let's put it this way, during those massive monsoons and hurricanes, FEMA came and dropped stuff from the helicopter to the tribal people. They were throwing rocks at the helicopter. They didn't want nobody to bother them. But this guy decides he's going to bring the good word to them. He needs to. They killed him with arrows. You know, he paid off people to get him to the island where they were in order to. He had to use like smugglers, more or less, to smuggle him to this island where, you know, they're indigenous and they're not supposed to be there. And this dude got killed. And I haven't followed up anything with it. And it came out, that news story broke pretty shortly thereafter or prior to the Green Inferno. Now, you saw it in the theater. I couldn't find a theater to see it in around here.
Really? Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it in the theater because but other thing too, I mean, this is a real life story too. One of the Rockefellers' sons went to New Guinea or somewhere like that. I want to say it was New Guinea, and he was definitely eaten by cannibals. Like he went there to save the people or whatever bullshit, and like yeah, he got eaten by a group of cannibals, and like so like that shit happens. I'm telling you, this is someone who has like been to third world countries like Uganda and Kenya. You got to be fucking careful, and that's something that I love about Eli Roth movies. It talks about traveling. It talks about, you know, as Americans we think we're all high and mighty going to other places.
Yeah.
they don't fucking like us. They don't. They don't
Hmm.
like us. They
Yeah,
don't. I don't care if you go to Italy, France, whatnot. They do not like us at all.
sure, sure. Look at the people. You don't even have to be in another country. Take, for instance, that first Joker movie with the steps that he danced down, right?
Mhm.
Those people were pissed off within 2 weeks. All of these people coming there to do their own Instagram video walking down
Yes.
them steps. They were ready to kill people. You know, the people in New Zealand. Oh, you want to go see where the Lord of the Rings was and this and that. They leave all their trash all over there. The people in New Zealand hate your guts. Okay.
Yes.
But I mean, I really think those people who, we were just talking about Heretic. Um,
Mhm. Yes.
with wonderful movie. Love
Great
Heretic.
movie. Great
And
movie.
we recommended it to friends, and they were like, that was so stupid, it was funny. I'm like, funny, okay. But I think that's a defense mechanism a lot of folks who aren't into horror use, to just keep themselves removed from anything reality that could be possible in horror, right? What's the first
Yes.
thing? That's stupid, that's corny. Oh, did you see that was um but when it comes from a place of realism, some things really touch on people. I had a friend once who wanted to go to the movies, and Evil Dead 2013 on a whim. Fetty Alvarez, right? On a whim. Did not see them for almost a year later. She said to me, that movie was so disturbing and scary. I went home. I thought about it for like a month later. Oh, that's a good horror movie.
Oh.
Oh, I mean, that stays with you. Primo horror movie.
But isn't it great to go as a horror fan to go to a horror movie with people who are not horror fans or people who are
Sure.
absolutely terrified of horror movie? Yes, it's traumatic for them, but it's so much fun because it's like when you go with a bunch of people who are horror fans, they're just sitting there like you and I. I
Show
like
me
people who
something
are
I ain't seen before.
yeah, I like that shit because it adds to the atmosphere. It makes things a little more scarier when you go with people who are not hardcore horror fans because
Hmm.
I like to see people get scared. It makes me get tense to be around with people who are scared.
Who wants to ride the roller coaster alone?
Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of times horror can come under criticism of any kind. And when people hit me with that, how can you? Why do you write that? What do you? Good horror gives me a better appreciation of life that I am able to live.
Yes.
Somebody went through that. I didn't have to. I've seen it. I appreciate my life that much better. I watch Wolf Creek and I say, that came from somewhere, that story. This happened to somebody, you know? I'm glad it wasn't me. Sorry. But that makes me
Yes.
appreciate my life that much more. And hopefully, if I'm in the situation, I'll react better.
Exactly. And for people who don't watch horror, horror gives you some of the best life lessons. I was watching horror since I was like 5 years old. And it gave us some of the life lessons. I told a story last year. I was stopping at a gas station and I saw the the epitome of serial killers. It was a white couple, young white couple, the dreadlocks and all that stuff. Looked dirty, looked crazy, tattoos, backpacking. And they were doing this to hitchhike. And I was a driver like, no way in hell I'm picking your crazy asses up, right? And then I see this young white guy. As I'm saying, I go and pay for my gas, come back out, and this young white guy is loading them up into his car. And I'm looking like we're not going to see him again. But but horror movies have taught me never to pick up hitchhikers. Never told me never to break into some fucking warehouse and have a fucking party illegally. It gave me some life lessons on things not to do.
That another excellent point. That really is. It sharpens up that sixth sense or that street smarts that some don't have but might get from watching a horror movie. I had a friend who was in Puerto Rico for a bachelor party. He said a guy just drove up to him on a moped and acted like he fell over and he hurt his leg and asked him to call for help. My friend went right back into that resort. He watches horror movies like that. Who knows that was some scam they were trying to rope him into, you know? It's just it's instinct and again an appreciation that you have not gone through this horrible thing you have just witnessed.
100%.
Absolutely.
I went to this horror film festival that was sponsored. It was in Bumfuck, Egypt, Virginia, and like driving in, it looked like a horror film. Like and like they gave all the guests an option to stay in these cabins. It was absolutely Jason. There was absolutely no cell phone signal at all, and I'm not staying in these fucking cabins. This is a great premise to a horror film. Imagine this. Listen, imagine this premise to a horror film. A bunch of horror filmmakers and horror fans are going to a horror film festival and staying in these cabins, and there's a fucking killer that starts killing them off. That is a excellent premise to a horror film. I have not seen it yet. By the way, no one stole my idea. But like,
that's right.
But there's certain things. I'm not staying in no cabins where I have no cell phone signal in Hickville, Virginia. I'm just not doing it. There's just certain things that horror movie have told me not to do.
It is wild when you think of us in our youth that we had Stranger Danger and milk cartons,
yes.
Right? And when you were a kid, you were kind of on your own. You know, it was known, maybe they knew where you were, but it is, I love these memes I see. Generation X is feral, and I look at it and I say, yeah, we're your last best hope. Trust me.
But can you imagine if we did have social media and online dating sites and the internet on our fucking phones? I'm pretty sure I would.
We have it now. I'm still amazed.
I would have been dead, Jason. We wouldn't even been having this interview. I would definitely be dead. I mean, that's crazy. I would have definitely been on a dating site at 15 years old, saying I was 21. I would have definitely done that.
I suppose, yeah. Oh well, talking about the site, I a couple of years ago when we had that total eclipse, this one popped in. I wrote a treatment for it, and it's called A Life Eclipse, and I'm fascinated by cults. Cults do a number on me because I see that and I'm just like, everybody was in it together and they all thought that was the right thing. Yep. And the story's about these kids from tri-state area up here, and they rent like an Escalade, and they're gonna go to where was it? Tennessee, which is the best place to view the eclipse. And the one kid busts up with his girlfriend. So he's the odd man out. He's the fifth wheel in the two couples. And they get down there and right away, the couples, they're drinking, they're smoking, they break off in the hotel. They're doing their thing. He goes on his phone. He gets his Tinder. He puts the zip code he's at, sees this girl too good to be true, takes the Escalade. She's got the door open in this old school, Bates Motel style thing. He sees her. He's heading for the gusto. Like you were saying, if you were backpacking and a girl, they were like, yeah, why wouldn't I do this? He goes in there. They shut the door. The cult grabs him. The cult grabs him, and they want to sacrifice him during the total eclipse.
Jason, I'm telling you, man, if I was in high school and had the internet and all that crazy shit, I was not getting any pussy in high school. I really wasn't. Surprised.
We had AIDS. AIDS was terrifying everyone. Nobody wanted to fuck. Nobody wanted to fuck. Yeah, it's just.
I didn't learn how to get pussy until I was in college. I didn't start to learn. Okay, well, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to say. This is bull.
But if you knew a girl who slept with three guys, she probably got AIDS. She probably got AIDS. There were three guys. She's a whore.
But in high school, I was a nice guy. I was honest and this and that. And then I found in college, you can't fucking do that. I'm not saying you gotta be an asshole, but you can't be a nice guy. You can't be 1% honest with women. They don't like that.
It's a strange dynamic. Yes,
it is strange. But I'm like, oh my goodness, that would be a great horror movie. How about this as a premise? You got a high school kid who has a fucking smartphone in 1995, that would be crazy.
Yeah. It'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun to write that one. You should do it.
And these kids don't even know about fucking MapQuest too. But that's the other thing too. MapQuest, we didn't have GPSs. We have fucking You miss a turn on MapQuest, you were fucked. I mean, you were completely fucked. You be just driving around in circles.
I'm going to show you something. Just bear with me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what that is? Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what. I do. I need it though. I write stories in the tri-state area, and it's got it all there for me, you know. And if I need to, I mean, sure, if I need to chart the mileage where my guy comes from one spot to another, I'll go on MapQuest. But for me to have a look at it, I still use a straight up map. And you try finding a cul-de-sac with one of these bad boys, it'll never happen. I used to do a job, radon remission, with these two guys from Canada. Would go all over and drill in people's basements, and you know, they're Canadian, they don't know how to get nowhere. And me, I got the, you know, you had that horror director on, what was his name, European guy, and I loved when he said to you in the one part, he's like, when it comes to numbers, I'm like dyslexic. That's how I feel with a lot of numbers and everything. And I was like, bro, right on. That's me. And you were talking about, I'd like to check his movie out. It sounds so disturbing. But yeah, I definitely need, but work experience can shape your horror for you if you're creating horror. And you had author Eric Otero on, and he spoke about how his labor assists him in writing. Well, at the time when I'm writing Starry Nightmares, or forming it together as a story, I worked for 2 years at a pet crematorium as a cremator. And like, I had a dude tell me today, like, he could work with me where I work. And I said, I don't know, man. I see you walking, you're kind of hurting and all. He's like, I did concrete for years. There ain't nothing in this office I can't lift. And I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, try picking up a dead Newfoundland dog, bitch. It ain't happening.
Well, I'm a mortician.
Dead weight. Dead weight and burn it.
I'm telling you right now, Jason. So it's my day job. I'm a mortician. And so
you are incredible.
Yes, I'm a mortician. And I am telling you what right now. People just don't know. People just don't know, because number one, I'm on call 24/7. I have no fucking life besides this YouTube channel. So like, I'm always on call, where it means if somebody dies, I have to go. And we're considered first responders, but we don't get the credit that the other first responders get. But no, it's a fucking hard fucking job, man. And I 100% agree. It's tough. I mean, it's tough, and I feel like morticians should not get the respect in this country that we fucking should. You know,
everybody's going to need them at one point.
Yeah, we just looked at weirdos, which we are. But but yeah, it's interesting.
We've all watched that crime scene where they go to the morgue and we're appalled at the person that works in the morgue eating a sandwich. Okay. I'm starving one afternoon, and one of the drivers are dispatched to pick up the pets when they're deceased or from the veterinarian hospitals. And, we talk about just getting some fast food real quick or something. I said, yeah. And I'm sitting there, and I would never eat anything that I needed my hands for. Everything is in a wrapper, because I'm constantly box cuttering open body bags and everything. So I got fur all over me. You know, if I slump a shepherd over my shoulder and he's not frozen still, all the blood is coming out its mouth all over my back. Blood is slippery. Blood smells metallic. That's so much blood, and you know too. It's a trip. It really is. I'm sitting there talking to him, and the guy Chris, he's looking at me, goes, Jay, what are you doing? I'm like, what? He's like, I was so worried about washing my hands so thoroughly before eating this cheeseburger. I got the cheeseburger box on top of the gurney.
Nice.
Right.
See, but and the washing the hands, like, I am, when it comes to washing my hands and Purell in my hands, I do it so often that my hands get so fucking dry.
They're dried out. Yeah.
And my hands are so dried out. So I moisturize my hands more than any woman does as well, and because my hands get so damn dry. All right, listen.
You'll get the cold cuts.
What was that? Yes,
Your
exactly.
skin will start breaking sores from the cold cuts. Yeah.
But at the same time, Jason, I definitely have. I don't know if I should be saying this. Listen, but I'm not going to say it. But I've definitely eaten around things, that most people wouldn't. And like I've talked to, I've been on the phone. They're like, "What are you eating with a body right there or something?" Like, not. I mean, but like you have to find time where to eat. Like I'm a quick eater because in the funeral industry, it's just boom, 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 boom. You really don't have a lot of time to just stop and have an actual lunch.
How how does your so it's funny to find out we have in common. We both worked with the dead like
Mhm.
this. It's incredible. Um, is horror an escape for you from your work, or does it? How does that work for you? I'm curious.
It's an escape for me.
It's a completely
So
separate thing.
it's a completely separate thing. So literally
I do.
completely separate thing. Now, but that's why I say too. When I watch horror movies that are bloody and gory and disgusting, I don't have the same reaction that someone else has, and I don't find those movies that entertaining.
No, no gore for the sake of gore. No.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not gonna bash this movie anymore. But I don't find those just over the top gore movies just be over the top gore movies. I don't find them fun because I see real gore every single day. So I like horror movies in my old age at 42. I like the horror movies that scare me up here. I mean, the last one I saw was Late Night with the Devil. Have you seen that one?
Absolutely loved it. Just watched it two
Absolutely
weeks ago.
no
Slow burn,
blood,
a slow
slow
burn, but when
burn,
it burned,
but no blood, no gore, no heads falling off, anything like that. And it's a movie that scares you up here.
yeah.
I like those horror movies. I guess I'm become a sophisticated horror fan now, horror movie fan, because I need the movies that mess me up here instead of in these now.
Is it not so cathartic though? I mean, like to escape into a horror film. If you had a lousy day, if you had something happen personal, it wasn't as bad as this.
That is
Not
true.
as
That's true.
bad as that. What you're seeing, your day was nothing compared to this.
But to be honest, if I'm having if I'm having a bad day, horror movies are not the ones that I go to. Horror movies is usually something I'm watching on a good day. If I'm having a bad day, you know who? I don't know if you can see him up in the top corner up there. John Claude Van Damme movies. That's Bloodsport. That's my favorite movie of all time.
Cyborg's my favorite.
Yes. So John Claude Van Damme movies. If I'm having a bad day, put on Cyborg, Lionheart, Death Warrant, Bloodsport, any of those fucking Double
Death
Impact.
Warrant, Sandman in the jail. Yeah.
Yes. John Claude Van Damme movies put a smile on my face. They really do.
JCVD was the guy.
He
You
was a
weren't
guy.
not seeing his movies if you were at the
Fuck,
theater.
fuck Steven Seagal. Fuck Chuck Norris. Who was other
Oh, I
cool
got a
guys
good
up there?
Chuck Norris moment for you, though.
Okay.
Braddock, POW, Missing in Action Part 2. I don't know in your area, but in the tri-state, we had Channel 11, and that was the WPIX. That was your horror movies. All like this time of year, they give you the good horrors. But Missing in Action, they're gonna put a rat in a burlap sack and throw it over top his head, and Chuck Norris eats the rat before he can cut his whole face up. But no, I mean, I think we were at that pinnacle of Van Damme awesomeness. Like I didn't catch Bloodsport until it was on TV. I saw a kickboxer in the movies, and Cyborg, that future dystopian, and tell me the villain in Cyborg wasn't one of the bold dudes.
Oh, he was amazing. And the backstory behind that movie was that was supposed to be a Spider-Man movie. Like Canyon Films were supposed to make that in a Spider-Man movie. And I think it was Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure it was Spider-Man. It might have been Superman.
That was Canon that made that.
Yeah, Canon made
I
that.
did not know that. Okay.
No, it was either Spider-Man or Superman, and so they scrapped the plans for that, and they had all these fucking costumes sitting around. They're like, let's make a John Claude Van. The John Claude Van Damme was like the canon guy, and they're like, fuck it, let's make a futuristic John Claude Van Damme movie. So like, it was pretty awesome that was supposed to be a Spider-Man movie. In some kind of way, it turned into this badass movie. And I agree with you. The villain, I wish I didn't know his damn name, but the fucking teeth and and then like
the voice,
and then he made the daughter like hold the barbed wire with her family,
the whole family, he had to hold them up.
Yeah,
that was horror.
Oh my goodness, Cyborg. By the way, listen. If you've never seen these John Claude Van Damme movies, you need to have watched them. I don't know why people give John Claude Van Damme so much shit. John Claude Van Damme's movies are, I'm talking about from the 80s to like, I'm gonna tell you when he jumped the shark. When he did Double Team with Dennis Rodman, that's when it started getting bad. That started when it started getting real bad. But like, if you watch everything before that, Sudden Death. I mean, what's the one? What's a knockoff?
Sudden Death is, I believe, your last major theatrical release from him. Well, no, Double Team was with Rodman. To this day, I've never seen it. And I do believe the hockey one is Sudden Death. But The Quest is what did it. The Quest was like kind of like Kickboxer and Bloodsport all over again. And that was a third time too much for people. It didn't. I don't think it did.
It wasn't good.
See, I still haven't seen. I used to work at. I've been fortunate enough to have jobs at both Blockbuster Video and the Suncoast Motion Picture Company. Both movie stores, the Rent and the Cell. And people brought back Sudden Impact, and you would get that reaction. They're like, "Yeah, this was a good one. This was good." You know, whatever people said at that time. And then with The Quest, they were like, "Eh." And then the next thing was the Double Impact. But Van Damme, that is an interesting one for you that you go to that for the just get your mind off stuff.
Love.
One pivotal moment. The moment I love in Cyborg is where he's just been trucking through these enemies, and everybody, he's giving them that classic 4-angle kick, and anybody that gets it, even the big dude henchman towards the end, he gets it. You're going down with the super kick. Get to the villain, he gives him the super kick. Come on, fucker. You're like, he hit him with the super move, and it's not working.
And he just punches him right in the fucking, and he punches John Claude Van Damme right in the dick. Like that. I mean, that is such a fucking. Listen, I keep forgetting how great Cyborg is. It's
Cyborg slept on. It really is. It is.
Cyborg is amazing. Yes. All right. Listen. All right. So listen, we just got on a rant, but I love that, Dev. Listen, but let's jump into your book real quick. Let's talk about STARRY Nightmares. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Well, it's 11 stories. And the very opening, and I know we touched on a lot of great horror creators, but I'd be remiss if I didn't put this one. I wanted something that encapsulated the collection. And one of my writing heroes is Rod Serling. Rod Serling of The Twilight Zone, I believe, is the best minute-for-minute writer that was able to pack the most incredible stories into 23 minutes in television with commercials back in the day.
Yes.
And his quote I started off with is, "The writer's role is to menace the public's conscience." And that's Rod Serling to the Library of Congress in 1968. Now, as I said, they're short stories, and they are all reality-based. From the jump, Why Don't You Go Outside? It's a story about a father whose his son has off from school that day. It's snowing, and he's just, he's trying to do his taxes. It's February. He's like, you and your friend are being like babies in your room playing this football video game. Take the shovels. Whatever money you make, I'll double it for all of you. He just wants them out of the house. And they wind up going to the wrong house. Now, my inspiration from that is from a real-life actual event. Now, I don't know in Baltimore when you were a kid, but I imagine something like this you had, where you would have fundraisers. and you would be
Mhm.
asked by your school to go door to door, get them to sponsor you, get them to purchase some Easter candy, what have you. We had to eliminate that in New Jersey after a child, ironically, to the area that I've moved. I'm from Trenton, city area in Trenton, but I live out by where this happened. A young boy was just going door to door selling what his school had asked of him, and a older, bigger boy grabbed him in the house, sodomized him, strangled him, murdered the young boy, put him in a briefcase. And you know how this always works is part of the people looking for him and everything like that. And that's where you start seeing the parents have those candy fundraiser packs that are brought with them to work. And I always thought about that. And when I was younger, I delivered newspapers, and I would always go knock on people's doors and everything, and you'd always be the house that you would want to see in that would have the money ready, and the house you'd never want to go in that were scared of. They're always like, "Come on in,"
Mhm.
and that's just I keep it. Realities I'm aware of are more terrifying than anything else, and I don't really mean to scare, but I think it's what's going on in your backyard, what's going you don't know, where you and I are standing right now in Poe's time or whenever somebody was murdered right where we're standing, horribly probably,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I just like to I like to add that realism. A lot of my stuff happens. Uh, I like to do stuff on the cusp of that cell phone technology time. Um, I guess that's when I was coming of age, and that time period's most interesting to me. So that's why don't you go outside? And in it, I have Missed by One, and a lot of it's karma inspired. Just bad things happening to shitty people. I like that. It's cathartic
I
for
like
me
that
as
too.
well. Yeah, I mean, Calvin and the What Guy. Calvin and the What Guy is a personal experience I had myself. I got caught underage drinking when I was a kid. I got court ordered to community service, and I had to clean up a park in the mornings. And I would go through with the stabber and pick up all the loose paper and everything. It was a big park. So I get to one end of the park, and this guy comes up to me, and he's just all kinds of off looking, and he opens up with this. You hear about them young boys selling their ass down in Philly?
What's up?
Now, I've been watching Friday the 13th. I know my Elm Street. I've been jumped before at this time. All right. I'm off and at the other end of the park. Well, now I don't think too much of it, Travis. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, that was off color shit to say to, me at 16 or whatever, but you're a fucking weirdo in the park. What do I know? I ain't thinking about this guy probably wants to fuck you and kill you. So I head on back. And when I tell the park director who signed in my community service paper and all, his reaction to that let me know this was a bad, bad thing, because the bums would sit in the dugouts and everything and hang out in there. There'd be all condoms and just Magnum cans and shit. And that would be it. The cops would chase him out in the morning. So he went back over that way, and he had a car phone at that time, which was a big deal. He got on the car phone, and in the city they have the van that dispatches the bike cops all over and all. They came and they grabbed him to the van. And that's where I get Calvin and the What Guy from. So all of these, it's like, start with what was fearful to you, and then I go from there. But Time the Avenger is my novel. And that is
Hey, real quick, Jason. I just want to say something right now about the candy
sure.
story. My parents,
Candy story, you said?
yeah, about the fundraiser candy story. My parents would not let me do it, and it wasn't because no one got raped or anything. But my parents were like, "No, you're not going to do that because some creeper is going to bring you in the house and rape you." And like, as a young age, I was afraid of getting raped all the time because every single damn thing was, "No, you can't do that because you're going to get raped." And like,
oh, your folks would make you aware of it like that.
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
they were very upfront.
Because I remember I wanted to play soccer at a young age, like on rec team. But like I remember on the news. I don't know if you remember this or not, but do you remember like nationwide, all these soccer coaches were like raping little boys, and like it was like a thing that was going on in like the late '80s, early '90s, and my parents were not let like all soccer coaches are perverts, and but I'm glad. One thing I'm glad of the Boy Scouts. I had I want to go to Boy Scouts, and my parents would say only weirdos. It's only weirdos who want to be scoutmasters who don't have kids. You know what I mean? And the Boy Scouts was filled with all these grown ass men who didn't have kids, and they wanted to hang out with little boys in the woods. And now we know, what was really going on.
I am with you and your folks, and I know you look back and you're thankful for your folks.
I am.
I'm adopted, and my mom always felt a responsibility. She said your birth mother's wish was she had no stipulations other than that you be raised Catholic. Okay, so I'm raised. My parents were already Catholic, so I'm already raised in Catholicism. Okay, and when you get to that age, and I go to a Catholic school at this point, and all the other kids in the class, they're altar boys, and they're allowed to work funerals and get money, and the bereaved or weddings they give you. I'm like, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, why can't I be a part of this? Why can't I go hang with my friends? And we already go to church anyway. It was always a flat no, but never a reason why. Okay. And looking back, man, we used to have a priest that would straight up come into our classroom and he'd go, "Hey," just like that. "I'm Tony," and this one, and he'd pull him out of the class, and we never thought shit about it till we went to high school and talked to other kids. And they're like, yeah. So that was always wanted to do Boy Scouts too, Trav. Always wanted to do the Boy Scouts. I really should never repeat anything your friends say to your parents that's in opposition. Yeah, well, they said it's just because you're cheap and you don't want to buy the Scout uniform.
I remember in the fifth grade. By the way, I remember in the fifth grade, like I had a teacher who looked like Elton John. I'm not saying that doesn't mean, but he always wanted to hang out with
a dead giveaway. That's good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But he always wanted to hang out with the boys after school. Only the boys, right? Play kickball, pizza parties, and shit. And then he had this big camping trip, right? He had this camping trip, like it was like during the school week, but he wanted to take all the boys, and it was like overnight. And my parents like, oh hell no, there's something wrong with that Mister.
Your folks were solid,
right? They were, and the thing was, he was going to take your booty hole. That was a saying they should say. No, you're going to take your booty hole, right? And I am so glad I did. And listen, and I stayed back with all the girls. I was like, this is some bullshit. I'm the only boy here with the boys, but apparently he took like 3 boys' booty holes on that trip. Like he's in prison.
Like teacher.
Like yes. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Mom, Dad, thank you, because I was a cute kid. I'm Jason. He would have definitely tried with me. So like, I'm
fucking
like
terrifying.
That is fucking terrifying. And like, so like, overprotective parents. Listen, kids, if you think your parents are overprotected, listen. I am telling you, it's best to have overprotective parents than not overprotective parents. It 100% is.
Yeah. And I mean, we could joke and everything, but when you look back on it, you could have. I mean, yeah, you could have been. I'm sure some of those kids were able to live normal lives and turn around. But do I want to deal with it though? Yeah. I listened to comedian Bill Burr's podcast, and he says, yeah, my parents are real worried about me. I'm standing in there in with the lace thing, with the black under it. He said it's more or less, to those of you that aren't Catholic, it's the French maid outfit for kids in Catholic school. But there was the Boy Scouts, could not do the Boy Scouts, could not do could not be the altar boy. And what was the other one? I wanted to I can't think of it anything. But even even like people that were on a level, you had to be suspicious of other adults, and at the same time respectful. And I like I'll give you a case in point. I would had a Franciscan priest who was a friend of the family, like, and I would go to mass, and after mass, he'd ask me about the latest movies that came out, and I'm on top of them at this point, Travis. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers is out Wednesday night. I'm seeing it Wednesday night before the weekend, and he knew this, and some of those movies at that time were so damn good, like Troy and everything, and he didn't really have nobody to go with, so I'd go with him to the movies. Yes. And that's all it ever was, you know. And I'm an adult at this point too, by the way. It's just, but he would always be like, you know, do you like to gamble? And I'm like, no, not really, or anything. He's like, well, I get comped rooms in Atlantic City. And I'm like, fuck that. That shit never happens. But used to say get in the booty hole. Look, that's exactly what Cat Williams said in the Shannon Sharp interview. They want the booty hole.
They want the booty hole. But like, I mean, I just didn't understand. Like, that's the other thing was too. My parents would not let me spend the night over my friend's house. They were like, I don't know, like, because a lot of my friends had stepdads, right? They didn't have real dad. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just it. They had stepdads, right? They had stepfathers, or not even stepfathers. Mom's boyfriend was living in the house. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Call my person.
Yeah, and my mom would be like, no, you know, she would say that I cannot stay over a friend's house where the parents weren't married. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I get it. Yeah. Stable.
And she did not want to stay with stepdad or what's it called, because I did not notice at a young time, but like a lot of stepdads and mom's boyfriends are like molesting their kids. And like, I mean, that's a fact. You know what I mean? Like that happens all the time. And like looking back, I'm like, oh my God, that makes sense now, because I mean, I hear about it all the time. I've met women. Oh my goodness, my mom's boyfriend was molesting me when I was 13 years old. Like it's like a common thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The human beings are fucked up. You know, it's just being men is hard. Up. And sometimes
men are fucked up. Men, we're disgusting. We're absolutely disgusting.
And women could be conniving and devious, though. You know, you know, it really is something else. You know, you talked about that, and I'm immediately drawn to, you know, the classic Baltimore show, The Wire, when we saw Michael and his younger brother Bug, you know, written all over their faces when the mom's boyfriend comes back in the house, and it didn't click with you right away, but then you see Chris, the older kid, his reaction to it, and him knowing what's up with this and all, and you're just like, oh, that's what the fuck's going on with it. That's why the little kid goes mute when the mom's boyfriend's around. Yeah, and it is. I mean, these are reality. These are present dangers, and you know, thanks to the folks who had that presence of mind and cared enough. You know, because if they didn't care, they'd let you do whatever the fuck you wanted. You know, and you know, you see it all the time, and there's stories where, you know, you like, a matter of fact, I just read Al Pacino's biography. It's called Sonny Boy. Very good book. And he talks about growing up in the South Bronx in the 40s. And he said his grandparents are the reason he's alive. His mother passed away, but his mother told him, like, his friends come out and call him out in the alleyway and shit. And he'd say his mother wouldn't let him go. And she said, I'm going to tell you something, you know, like, unfortunately, your little friends out there, you know, Cuddy's nephew or his uncle, he don't really care about where he is right now and everything. You know, unfortunately, she said, and you're going to see when you get older. And he always reflects upon his friends that are all dead when he was a kid, and he could have been dead like them too. So yeah, I consider myself fortunate as well. But yeah, it's a scary world when you're a kid.
It is, man. It is. I don't know why you're going to tell. I was like, I hope he's not going to tell me that Al Pacino was like molested or something as a kid.
No. You know, at the time it was released, a lot of other people released bio books, and the critics were saying it wasn't, quote, juicy enough. You know, he has an incredible memory. We're talking, he's lived 8 decades, and anybody that's good to him was good to him throughout his life. He was good back with them. And, as amazing as the accolades and the career was and everything, he really goes back to those times in the South Bronx of his friends and that being the best time of his life. It's reflective and it's a good read. And, he didn't need to trash nobody. He just
Yeah.
talked about the people that worked out for him. So I did enjoy that. I do like true. Even though I write fiction, I like to read true. I just got done with this one that's behind me here. The Iceman, Confessions of a Mafia Killer.
Ooh.
You want to talk horror, Travis? Travis. This guy, like, if it was wrestling, here's his finishing move, okay? He goes to the guy he wants to kill. He flattens the back tire behind the driver's side. Waits for the guy to get out, laughing to himself while he's cursing. The guy goes to get the works from the trunk, the tire iron and all. He comes up, puts the gun on him. Now he starts the book off with what he calls the death of 1,000 bites. In Bucks County, Pennsylvania, he used to live, and there's a cave with these big-ass rats he found. When he was out hunting, he'd just be shooting random things in the woods. And he found this rat cave. He thought he had shot a raccoon or even a smaller, larger animal. And he seen it was a rat. And he was like, what a tough bastard. He took a shot from the gauge like that. And he said he could smell it. And he goes into the cave and the wheels start turning. And he's a sick man with a horrible upbringing. And somebody did something to one of these mafioso's daughter. He's a Polish guy. They would outsource the hits to him. And he said, I'm going to pay you this, but if you can confirm he suffers, I'll pay you this. He's working at a place cutting actual film. So he has motion sensor and cameras. He ties the guy up. He takes him to this big rat cave. He puts him down, leaves him all tied up, leaves. Comes back the next day or 2 days later. All he could see is the rib cage. He says he looks at the video. He says at first the rats are submissive and pensive almost. But then as they start getting the sweat, they come in, they start taking a nibble of an ear and a little bit more. And he shows it to us. That's how the book starts. About rats. Imagine, I used to have a friend, we were sick. We talked about the worst way to die, And and he'd say, it's the worst way to die. They stick you on a pole ass first and you just slowly seep down and die that way. But I gotta think the death of 1,000 bites is up there with burning and drowning.
Yes. I would say burning and drowning because I've seen people who die from both, and you can just see the look of terror on the person's face. Like, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? I mean, do you feel that? Like, when you die, do you feel that burning aspect? Or I'm hoping that you go into fucking shock, but I don't fucking know. Like, I don't even know when it comes to somebody just dying. People say people died peacefully. I don't think so, because you gotta think for yourself. Your heart is abruptly stopping when you die. That has to be painful. You're gasping for your last bit of air. That has to be painful. Like, I've never seen a human being die in person, but I've seen like a cat, my cat that I've had years ago, die in front of me, and it was like that, taking those breaths, and like screaming in pain, like it was screaming in pain. Like death is not. I think death is definitely painful. I think even if it's natural causes, I think it's absolutely painful.
I knew someone that was present for a murder, and for a time knew the man murdered, and he said a few seconds thereafter, when they had been stabbed many times, he said, I saw something like and he said it was just like the soul leaving his body or something. It always stuck with me. Yeah. Just like, people call it the last gasp, what have you. But he said, he said it kind of haunted him. Well, murdering somebody, but Yeah, it's kind of stayed with him. But you in the mortuary sciences, I know I've had this experience when I've broken open a body bag, and I'm by myself in this. It's like a 1950s warehouse with all these machines around, and I look and I'd say to him, "You died terribly, buddy." I would just look and be like, "You either got hit by a car and were twisted, vertebrae all the other
Yeah.
direction." I was just telling my friends watching football Sunday, I've broken my nose multiple times, so I have a horrible sense of smell, and that's my saving grace in that career. I don't need to put nothing here or nothing. But when something smells bad enough, it's not going to be in your nose; it's going to be in your stomach, and that's where you got to breathe out and not in. But I would always cut spine to spine when I break the body bag open. So I start at the head down to the tail or what have you, if it's a deer or God knows what. Um, and this pet was twisted backwardly. So here's me, a smaller pet. I take the box cutter, and they bloat when they're dead a little.
Mm-hmm.
I cut along. I cut the stomach instead of along the spine, and all the white intestines came out, and it hit me like super fish guts to the neck. It was like in my stomach, and some smells, man, you don't ever forget them, but but working with the dead, as Eric said when you interviewed Eric, his work, it helps him focus on what will be his story thereafter, and it really, I mean, that's going to be a future story where I would tell the drivers, I'm like, I'm going to write a story about like some half-ass gangsters that got to get rid of a body, and they come to the pets crematorium, and they just looked at me dead serious. They're like, "You could do that, I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You would use the communal one. That's where we put all the roadkill and the deers and the fowl. Everything gets hit by trucks, and you pack that in every day." He said, "You would do the communal, and you would use 2 bigs. And when we say bigs, that's anything from a Rottweiler and up." He says you would put the man between the bigs, burn it almost 2,000 degrees, 1650, and you take them out and you commingle them and you just put them through the blender, and that's it. No more man.
Yeah. And I mean, I worked briefly for a funeral home that had a retort. That's the oven that they cremate bison, but they had a retort specifically for pets, and they had a contract with the SBCA as well as the Bethesda Navy Research Base. And I went several times to Bethesda Navy Research Base to do a pickup. And you will see these big, giant fucking hogs that are frozen, and monkeys, and this and that. And I'm telling you what right now. I am telling you what right now. If you, actually, I don't know if I should say this, Jason. God damn.
I'm talking about my work.
Okay, listen, people who say I'm going to donate their body to fucking science, you need to really know what your fucking body is going through when you donate science. It's just not medical research. No, it is military weaponry is practiced on your fucking bodies. Yes, that's 100%. Yes.
You're dropping truth bombs here, Travis. Who would know that? That's wild.
Torso just getting fucking shot at and so forth. But what they would do to the fucking poor animals, like they would put the fucking monkeys into like gas chambers and these hogs and shit, and they would just drop this fucking gas on them, and you would see the eyeballs pop out, and it's like, holy fucking! Now that is more terrifying than any fucking heart. That's more terrifying than Terrifier. Any of that fucking shit. You see that fucking shit right there, but not only that. It's the weaponry that this is shit that's not even out yet, right? But you seeing them test this shit on animals, and you start thinking to yourself, oh my god, what if this shit gets out in the wrong fucking hands? Like, this is other things that they're preparing to use on human beings. And you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah. We're always going to invent more wilder ways to kill one another.
Holy shit. But that's why I believe that the T-virus or something like that, Resident Evil, or the zombie pop, it is definitely going to fucking happen, because I am telling you that they're practicing some nasty, sick shit in these military bases. Some nasty, like Aberdeen Proving Ground is a research base near me. They're practicing some nasty, sick shit there. And if that shit just oops, and got out, it would fuck up the whole entire country.
Hey,
Terrifying.
look what this bat virus did to us. Right? That's where it came from, supposedly. Just a bat. That was patient zero realized as that was going on. Right?
Holy shit.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to sound overconfident, but I'm right a lot when I'm sure that I'm right. But I was really wrong. I was really wrong on that one. My girlfriend is stressing it. My girl, Michelle says hello. By the way, she met you at the fest.
Michelle,
Yeah. Now we're talking about sick shit. My girlfriend is sicker than I am. Last night I'm just trying to eat dinner. She's watching The Night Stalker. When I need a point of reference, I go to her books, not mine. The A to Z of serial killers. But she's
I would love to have her on.
Yeah. Oh, she's a blast. Yeah, she's crazy as hell. So she's stressing on the early days, like February, maybe even late January, about the Wuhan virus. And I'm going, here we go again, because she's been predicting a comeback of the bird flu for 10 years. So I'm like, here we go again. She's like, no, this is serious. And once they were like, people in D.C., she's like, people in D.C. I'm like, I'm making jokes, Travis. She's going, it's the Wuhan virus. I start singing Busta Rhymes songs to her. I'm like, Wuhan, got you all in check. Got the headline. And then guess what she says to me after I say the Wuhan song? She's like, Jay, this is serious. I was like, this is serious. You should have a healthy fear of it. I was so wrong. Travis, 3 weeks later, I'm wiping down cereal boxes before I'm bringing them in the house. Keep the cat away from the cereal box, and we don't know. Everybody is suspect in the grocery store. Everybody.
I spent like $100 on a bottle of like a big thing of hand sanitizer. It was like this big. I spent literally $100 for that shit. That probably cost me $20.
It was a deal when you got
it. Yes, I was like, I needed this fucking hand sanitizer. Like, but I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it's not going to be a meteor that's going to knock us out as a civilization. It's going to be one of these shit at the military bases is going to fucking leak the fuck out. And that's what's going to wipe us out. It's going to be because they're creating some sick, fucked up shit to use on our enemies, which it is what it is. But to me, I feel like it's inhumane,
So I'm an organ donor. Are you saying maybe I should retract?
I'll tell you about what they do to organ donors after the video. But
oh man. Oh, this has been wonderful. This is too much. I'll tell you what, you have paused maybe 3 or 4 times and went, I don't know if I should say this.
Now,
and 2 times you did.
All right, I have a question. Are you an organ or are you a skin donor as well?
I just figured maybe I'd do somebody some good thereafter. I guess it's everything.
You got skin too? Okay. Yeah, that's...
Now you got me thinking that Chris Rock, suppose they figure out a way to bring me back. Now, Mama, where's my eyes? I gave him the little boy in Oregon. I gotta go kill some little boy.
Being a donor, listen, but being an organ donor is absolutely great. I don't recommend that, but I'm just saying, are you planning on being buried or are you cremated?
Cremation, it seems to be the popular way nowadays, right?
It is.
Everybody's doing it. But when I was a kid, it was like everybody got buried. And there is that feeling, I don't know where you are beliefs-wise, that you're born of the earth and you should kind of return to it. But I don't give it that much thought. I almost died in 2008, head-on collision, And I always say, like, it's like the Terminator, On a good day, I say, every day after this has been a gift. On a bad one, I say, has it been that great since then? So, it gives you an interesting perspective. And I go over this a lot. And when people get to a certain point, they don't care. I've had guys that I worked with at the crematorium straight up told me this. He said, just to let you know, I told my daughter, if anything happens to me, you already got my grandkids. Don't spend no extra money. You come see Jason after 11:30 at night at the place. You give him $50 to throw my ass in the community chamber. I said, if that ever happens, I'm going to be upset because I don't have you to help me work with. No, I'm not doing it. But I've had guys say, I don't care. Throw me in that dumpster over there. It's interesting how people look at it. But yeah, I don't have any pre-burial arrangements, so I guess I'm getting cremated.
But if you were say, hey, I'm on open casket service and I'm gonna be buried, organ donor, that's not bad. That's not bad. But if you said I was a long bone donor or a skin donor, they're gonna skin you. I mean, and they're gonna fillet you. Like you're literally, by the time we get you, you're literally gonna be a sack of skin that we got to put that together, which is going to cost your family more money to put you back together.
Everybody in horror likes to ask this question: when you're a ghost and you die, is the outfit you die in your outfit for eternity? They should be asking these questions.
Exactly. But that's why
my ghost have no skin.
But that's why, listen, anybody who's still watching in a minute and 6 minutes in, listen, starting in January, on Mondays, it's gonna be a new show on this channel. It's gonna be called Ask a Mortician. You're gonna ask me any fucking dark and creepy questions about what's called, and I will be 100% honest about the questions. So look for that the first of the year in January on Mondays. Ask a Mortician.
Excellent idea.
Jason, listen, this was so much fucking fun. Listen, I'm gonna get you back on Zoom, man. I could do this. I can talk to you for all night.
I didn't even know it was that long that went by.
Yes,
you've been blessed.
This was so much fun. By the way, where can everyone find you and your books?
Of course. My website is timetheavenger.com, and Jason Marinko's Starry Nightmares and Time the Avenger are available worldwide in print and ebook, and we're going to be working on that audiobook coming up soon too.
Well, Jason, listen, I'm telling you what right now, man, you're already in the nominees for one of the best interviews of 2024 on the Horror Realm, man. This is a fucking great interview. I'm being serious, man. This was an absolute blast.
I'm just happy to be in the realm, Trav.
This was so much fun, man. Listen, everybody, please follow my man Jason. Listen, grab his books and look for him soon. By the way, I don't say this enough. Hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out. Listen, I'm just trying to keep the lights on over here. So
it's free. So it doesn't cost you nothing to do.
It doesn't cost you nothing. If you, but also
stingy with your thumbs.
I never said this on my show too. Also, too, down in there where that like area is at too, there's this little thing that is called Super Chat. But you can actually donate money to the channel. So definitely do that if you feel free to. No pressure. But definitely hit that subscribe button. I mean, if you like this interview and like stuff in the horror realm. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce. And that is my man, Jason Marinko.
Pleasure to be here.
See you next time. Have a good one.